In today's video, we're going to talk about every single dashboard warning and indicator light you see on your car's instrument cluster, what each symbol means when it shows up, and what you should do when it does. Now, dashboard symbols usually come in 3 colors, and those colors tell you how serious the situation is. Green or blue lights mean everything's working fine. They're just indicators showing a system is active, like your headlights or cruise control. Then, yellow or amber lights mean there's a potential issue that needs attention soon. Nothing too urgent, but don't ignore it for long. For example, low tire pressure or low engine oil level. And then we have red warning lights. These are serious. If you see a red light on your dashboard, it usually means there's a critical issue like engine trouble, brake failure, or overheating. In most cases, you should stop the car safely and check it right away. So, in this video, we'll go from the most critical red warning lights to the less serious indicator lights, explaining what each one means and what action you should take when it pops up. Now let's start with one of the most important and honestly, the most common dashboard warnings you'll ever see, the check engine light. This little icon, shaped like an engine or sometimes spelled out as check engine, is your car's way of saying, hey, something's not quite right under the hood. Now here's the thing. This light can mean a lot of different things. Sometimes it's something minor, like a loose or missing gas cap, but it can also point to something serious like an engine misfire, bad sensor, or fuel system problem. If the light is steady and your car feels normal, don't panic. But don't ignore it either. It's your cue to get the car scanned soon to find out what's going on. But if that light starts flashing, or your car feels rough or sluggish, that's a big red flag. It means your engine is misfiring or running poorly, and continuing to drive could cause major engine damage. In that case, pull over safely and get it checked immediately. Remember, modern cars rely on tons of sensors, like the oxygen sensor, mass airflow sensor, camshaft sensor, and even transmission-related sensors. If just one of those sensors fails or sends a weak signal, the ECU can trigger the check engine light. That's why it's always a good idea to grab an OBD2 scanner. Plug it into your car's OBD port, and it'll show you the exact error code that caused the warning. Those codes will point you toward the specific sensor or system that's causing the problem. And if you're wondering what those codes mean or which sensor they relate to, don't worry, we've got you covered. Head over to our website, obdcode.org, where you'll find a full list of codes and their explanations. And here's a bonus tip. Once you identify the sensor behind the issue, inspect its wiring and connectors. In many cases, it's not the sensor that's bad, but a loose, corroded, or damaged wire that's actually causing the problem. Fixing that could clear the light without replacing anything at all. Next up, let's talk about the battery charge warning light, the one that looks like a little battery icon on your dashboard. Now, it's normal for this light to come on for a few seconds when you first start your car. That's just the system running its regular check. But if it stays on while you're driving, that's when you need to pay attention. A lot of people assume it means the battery itself is bad, but that's not always the case. In fact, this light usually means there's a problem with your car's charging system. The battery isn't getting enough power from the alternator, or in some cases, it's not getting charged at all. So, if that light pops up while you're driving, here's what you should do right away. First, reduce the electrical load on your car. Turn off anything that's not essential. Things like the air conditioning, heated seats, defogger, radio, or phone charger. The fewer systems drawing power, the longer your car will keep running. Second, don't shut off the engine. I know that might sound counterintuitive, but if your alternator has failed or your battery is weak, turning off the engine could mean it won't start again. So instead, keep it running and drive straight to a nearby mechanic or service center. You want to get it checked before the car stalls completely. Now, here's something a lot of people overlook: corroded battery terminals. Corrosion on the terminals can block the flow of electricity, confusing the system and triggering that warning light. So before you panic, open the hood and take a look. If you see a white or greenish buildup on the terminals, Clean them carefully using warm water or a terminal cleaner. If the terminals are clean and the battery itself is fine, then the issue might be deeper, possibly a bad alternator, a faulty voltage regulator, or another mechanical issue in the charging system. In short, the battery light isn't something to ignore. It's your car's way of saying, "Hey, I'm running out of power." So act quickly before you find yourself stranded with a dead battery. Next, let's talk about one of the most serious red warnings you can see on your dashboard. The engine temperature warning light, also known as the coolant temperature warning light. When this light comes on, it means your engine is running too hot, or in simple terms, your engine is overheating. Under normal conditions, this light should never appear if your cooling system is working properly. But if there's a problem, like low coolant, a leak, or a faulty cooling component, the engine temperature can shoot up quickly, leading to serious damage. Here's the thing. Driving your car while it's overheating can cause severe and even permanent engine damage, like a blown head gasket or a warped cylinder head. So, if that warning light pops up, don't ignore it. As soon as it's safe, pull over and stop the car. Turn off the engine and wait for it to cool down completely before checking anything under the hood. Opening the radiator cap while it's still hot can cause serious burns, so give it at least 20 to 30 minutes. Once the engine cools, check your coolant level. If it's low, that's likely the cause. Refill it with the proper coolant mixture recommended by your vehicle manufacturer. If you notice you're frequently running low on coolant, that usually means there's a leak somewhere in the system, maybe from a hose, radiator, or water pump, and it needs to be repaired as soon as possible. Another possible cause could be a blown fuse or relay related to the radiator fan. When the engine reaches a certain temperature, the radiator fan automatically turns on to cool it down. But if the fuse or relay is blown, the fan may not start, causing the engine temperature to rise quickly. So if your coolant and radiator look fine, it's worth checking the fan fuse and relay in the fuse box. Overheating can also occur due to a stuck closed thermostat valve. The thermostat controls the flow of coolant between the engine and the radiator. It opens automatically when the coolant reaches a certain temperature. But if it gets stuck in the closed position, the hot coolant can't circulate through the radiator to release heat into the atmosphere. This traps heat inside the engine and leads to rapid overheating. In that case, replacing the faulty thermostat is the only fix. And finally, a broken water pump can also cause the engine to overheat. The water pump is responsible for circulating coolant throughout the entire cooling system. If it fails, the coolant won't flow properly, leading to rapid overheating even if everything else seems fine. So remember, if your engine temperature warning light comes on, stop safely, cool down, and inspect. The sooner you address it, the less likely you are to face expensive engine repairs later. Next up, the steering warning light. That little steering wheel icon with an exclamation mark that suddenly appears on your dashboard. Now, power steering is what makes turning your wheels smooth and effortless. Instead of you doing all the hard work, the system gives you a helping hand, using either a hydraulic pump or an electric motor to assist your steering. There are two main types of power steering systems. First, hydraulic power steering. This system uses fluid pressure to help turn the wheels. A pump, driven by your engine, builds up high-pressure fluid. And whenever you turn the steering wheel, a special valve inside the rack and pinion assembly directs that pressurized fluid to assist your movement. Then there's electric power steering, or EPS, which is what most modern cars use today. Instead of a hydraulic pump and fluid, it relies on an electric motor controlled by the car's computer. When you turn the steering wheel, sensors detect your input, and the motor instantly provides the right amount of assist. The big advantage here? Efficiency. Since there's no pump constantly running, EPS systems save fuel, require less maintenance, and can even adjust steering feel automatically, making it lighter at low speeds and firmer at high speeds. It's pretty amazing technology when you think about it. But like any other system, it's not immune to problems. Sometimes that steering warning light shows up for something as simple as low power steering fluid, especially in hydraulic systems. Other times, it could be a blown fuse, bad connection, or voltage issue related to the electric power steering system. In those cases, the system itself isn't actually broken. It just isn't getting the power or pressure it needs to work properly. Next up, the oil pressure warning light. This is one of those warning lights you never want to ignore because it means your engine may not be getting enough oil pressure to stay properly lubricated. Inside your engine, hundreds of metal parts, like pistons, crankshafts, and camshafts, move at extremely high speeds. Now, without proper lubrication, these parts would grind directly against each other and wear out in seconds. That's where engine oil comes in. It forms a thin film between these moving parts, preventing metal-to-metal contact and reducing friction. And while the coolant controls engine temperature externally, oil removes heat from inside, especially from high-stress areas like pistons and bearings. Oil also helps keep your engine clean. As it circulates, it picks up carbon deposits, dirt, and tiny metal particles. These impurities get trapped in the oil filter, preventing sludge buildup inside the engine. Here's how the system works. At the bottom of your engine sits the oil pan, or sump, which stores all the oil. When you start the engine, the oil pump, usually driven by the crankshaft, sucks oil from the sump through a pickup tube with a mesh strainer that filters out larger debris. The pump then builds pressure and pushes the oil through the oil filter, which removes fine particles. Once filtered, the pressurized oil flows through narrow oil galleries, small passages inside the engine block and cylinder head, reaching critical components like crankshaft bearings, camshaft bearings, connecting rods and pistons, valve lifters, rocker arms, and cam lobes. Every one of these parts needs a continuous film of oil to stay cool and friction-free. After doing its job, the oil drains back down to the sump, and the entire cycle repeats several times every second while your engine is running. Now, if the oil pressure warning light comes on, it means this cycle is being interrupted. Your engine isn't getting enough oil pressure to keep everything lubricated. Here's what you should do immediately. 1. Stop the car as soon as it's safe and switch off the engine. 2. Open the hood and check your oil level using the dipstick. If the level is low, top it up with the manufacturer-recommended engine oil. If the oil level is fine but the light stays on, you might be dealing with a clogged oil filter or blocked oil passages inside the engine, both of which restrict oil flow. And in some cases, the oil pressure sensor or its wiring could be faulty, giving a false reading. Whatever the reason, never ignore this warning light. Running your engine with low oil pressure can cause severe damage in just a few minutes. Next up, the brake system warning light. This one usually appears as an exclamation mark inside a circle, or sometimes as the word brake on your dashboard. And make no mistake, this is one of the most important warning lights you'll ever see, because it's directly related to your vehicle's stopping power. Now, this light can come on for a few different reasons. The parking brake is still engaged, even slightly. The brake fluid level is low, or, in more serious cases, there's a problem in the hydraulic brake system itself, like a leak, worn brake pads, or air trapped in the brake lines. Here's what you should do when this light comes on. First, make sure your parking brake is fully released. If the light stays on, pull over safely and check the brake fluid reservoir under the hood. If the fluid level is below the min mark, top it up with the manufacturer-specified brake fluid, usually DOT3, DOT4, or DOT5.1, depending on your car. But remember, brake fluid doesn't just disappear. If it's low, it usually means your brake pads are wearing out or there's a leak somewhere in the system. And that's something you shouldn't ignore. Driving with low brake fluid or a damaged brake line can lead to complete brake failure, which is extremely dangerous. Now, let's talk about the ABS warning light, often shown as the letters ABS inside a circle. Your car's anti-lock braking system is designed to prevent the wheels from locking up when you brake hard, especially on slippery or wet surfaces. This system helps maintain traction and allows you to keep steering control while braking. When you first start your car, the ABS light will illuminate for a few seconds. That's completely normal. It's just the system running a quick self-check. But if the light stays on while driving, that means there's a problem within the ABS, and the system has been disabled. Your regular brakes will still work, but you won't have anti-lock protection, meaning your wheels could lock up during sudden stops. Here are a few common reasons why the ABS light comes on. A faulty wheel speed sensor, which tells the ABS computer how fast each wheel is rotating. Damaged wiring or connectors are going to one of those sensors. A blown ABS fuse or relay. Or, in rare cases, a fault in the ABS control module itself. To pinpoint the exact cause, you'll need to connect an OBD2 scanner that can read ABS-related codes. You might see codes like C0035 to C0050, which point to a specific wheel sensor issue. Once the fault is repaired, whether it's replacing a sensor, fixing the wiring, or resetting the system, the light should go off automatically. Remember, while it's usually safe to drive short distances with the ABS light on, you should get it checked as soon as possible. Because without ABS, your braking distance can increase, especially on wet or icy roads. Next up, the airbag warning light, also known as the SRS light, which stands for Supplemental Restraint System. When you turn on your car, this light usually comes on for a few seconds and then goes off. That's normal. But if it stays on or starts flashing while you're driving, it means something's wrong with your airbag system. And that's not something to take lightly. The airbag system is a critical safety feature designed to protect you and your passengers during a collision. It includes airbags, crash sensors, seatbelt pretensioners, and the SRS control module. When there's an issue anywhere in this network, the system disables itself to prevent accidental deployment, and that's why the warning light appears. Now, here are the most common reasons why your airbag or SRS light might come on. A faulty airbag sensor, usually located in the front bumper, seat, or under the dashboard. A loose or damaged connector under the seat. This is one of the most common causes, especially if you've recently adjusted or removed your seat. A bad clock spring inside the steering wheel. It allows electrical connections for the airbag and horn to move when you turn the wheel. If the clock spring breaks, the driver's airbag may lose connection. A low or weak battery. When the voltage drops too low, it can trigger SRS system faults. Or sometimes, the system just needs a reset after a previous repair or minor impact. So, what should you do when the SRS light stays on? First, check if there's any fuse related to the SRS system that might be blown. A simple issue like that can sometimes trigger the warning light. Next, look under the driver and passenger seats for any loose yellow connectors. These are usually the airbag connectors. Make sure they're fully plugged in and not corroded. And here's something really important. If the SRS light is on, your airbags will not deploy in the event of a crash. Next, let's talk about the transmission warning light, usually shown as a gear symbol, or sometimes as the word trans or AT oil temp on your dashboard. When this light turns on, it means your car's computer has detected something wrong with the transmission system. That could be anything from low transmission fluid to overheating or even internal mechanical issues inside the gearbox. One of the most common reasons for this light to appear is low or dirty transmission fluid. Automatic transmission fluid, or ATF, is basically the lifeblood of your transmission. It keeps all those gears and clutches lubricated, cools the system, and helps your car shift gears smoothly. So even a small issue with the fluid can trigger that warning light. Here's how you can check it. On most cars, you'll find a red-handled dipstick labeled for transmission fluid, usually toward the back of the engine bay near the oil dipstick. Make sure the engine is running and the car is in park before checking. Pull the dipstick out, wipe it clean, then reinsert it and pull it out again to read the level. The fluid should be reddish and clear. That means it's healthy. If it looks brown, dark, or smells burnt, that's a sign the fluid's old, contaminated, or breaking down, and it needs to be replaced. If the level is low but the fluid still looks clean, you can simply top it off with the correct ATF for your vehicle. Just make sure to check your owner's manual or the label on the dipstick to confirm you're using the right type, because using the wrong fluid can cause even more problems. Now let's talk about another important safety warning light, the Tire Pressure Monitoring System, or TPMS light. You'll recognize it as that yellow horseshoe-shaped icon with an exclamation mark in the center. When this light comes on, it means one or more of your tires are either underinflated or in some cases overinflated. The TPMS is designed to constantly monitor the air pressure in your tires and alert you whenever the pressure drops below or rises above the safe limit. Driving with low tire pressure doesn't just affect fuel efficiency, it can seriously impact your car's handling, braking distance, and overall safety. Underinflated tires also wear out faster and can even lead to a dangerous tire blowout if ignored for too long. So, here's what you should do when that TPMS light comes on. Pull over safely and visually inspect all 4 tires. If one looks visibly lower than the others, that's probably your culprit. Use a tire pressure gauge to check the pressure in each tire. Compare the readings to the recommended PSI. You can find that number on a sticker inside the driver's door frame or in your owner's manual. If any tire is low, inflate it to the proper pressure. Once the tires are at the correct PSI, the TPMS light should turn off automatically after a short drive. If the light stays on even after adjusting the pressures, or if it flashes before staying solid, that means there's likely a problem with one of the TPMS sensors. They might be damaged, have dead batteries, or lost signal to the control unit. Next up, let's talk about the engine immobilizer warning light, or as some cars call it, the anti-theft system. Different names, same purpose, and that's to protect your car from being stolen. Think of it as your car's built-in bodyguard. It's a smart security system that prevents the engine from starting unless it detects the right key or the correct electronic signal. In simple terms, it immobilizes your vehicle, so even if someone tries to hotwire it or use the wrong key, they're not going anywhere. Here's how it works. Inside your car key or key fob, there's a tiny transponder chip. When you insert the key into the ignition or press the start button, that chip sends a unique coded signal to your car's computer, also known as the ECU. If the code matches the one stored in the ECU, the engine starts like normal. But if the code is wrong, missing, or not detected, the system shuts everything down, and the engine won't start. That's how the immobilizer system keeps your vehicle secure from theft. However, sometimes this same system can malfunction. Like if your key fob battery is weak, the transponder chip is damaged, or there's a faulty connection between the antenna and ECU. So if that little key-shaped light stays on or flashes on your dashboard, don't ignore it. Your car might not recognize your key the next time you try to start it. Next, let's talk about the reduced power warning light, sometimes labeled on your dashboard as engine power reduced or limp mode. When this light turns on, it means your car's computer, the ECU, has detected a serious issue with the engine or transmission and has limited your engine power on purpose. This is a protective mode designed to prevent further damage. In simple terms, your car is saying, "Something's wrong, I'll still get you home, but slowly." You'll usually notice symptoms like sluggish acceleration, the engine refusing to rev beyond a certain point, or the transmission stuck in one gear. Now, there are quite a few reasons why this warning light can come on. The most common ones include a faulty throttle body or throttle position sensor, which affects how your car responds to the gas pedal. Issues with the mass airflow sensor or manifold absolute pressure sensor, both of which help regulate the air-fuel mixture. A malfunctioning accelerator pedal sensor, which tells the ECU how far down you're pressing the pedal, or in some cases, problems with the transmission control system or even the electronic control wiring between sensors and the ECU. In many cases, simply cleaning the throttle body or replacing a faulty sensor can fix the issue and clear the warning light. But if the car continues to limit power even after repairs, There could be a deeper issue in the wiring or ECU that needs professional attention. Next, let's talk about one of the simplest, yet most important, safety reminders on your dashboard: the seatbelt indicator light. This is the little icon of a person wearing a seatbelt, and it's your car's way of saying, buckle up before you go anywhere. When you first start your car, this light will come on, often with a chime or beeping sound, if the driver or passenger isn't buckled in. Once everyone clicks their seatbelts into place, the light turns off. It's a simple system, but it plays a huge role in safety. The seatbelt warning light is linked to sensors in the seatbelt buckles and sometimes even the passenger seat, which detects when someone's sitting there. If the seat is occupied and the belt isn't latched, the system triggers the light, and often keeps beeping until the seatbelt is fastened. Now, if the light stays on even after you've buckled up, there could be a faulty seatbelt buckle sensor or a loose connection under the seat. In rare cases, the problem could be with the occupant detection sensor, the one that senses whether someone is sitting in the passenger seat. Next up, let's talk about the Electronic Stability Control Warning Light, or ESC for short. Depending on the manufacturer, it might also be called Electronic Stability Program or Dynamic Stability Control, but they all serve the same purpose. Think of ESC as your car's built-in safety assistant, quietly watching over you every second you're behind the wheel. While you're driving, the system is constantly monitoring how much you're turning the steering wheel, how fast each wheel is spinning, and even how the car is rotating, something engineers call the yaw rate. If it notices that the car isn't behaving the way you're steering, like you're skidding, understeering, or oversteering, or if there's even a risk of rolling over, it jumps into action instantly. Here's how it works. By selectively braking individual wheels, the system can bring the car back in line and prevent or reduce skidding, especially on slippery or wet roads. In some advanced vehicles, the system can even provide gentle steering assistance to help you stay on course. It's an amazing piece of technology that saved countless accidents and lives, but like any electronic system, it's not immune to the occasional hiccup. Sometimes that ESC warning light can pop up simply because of a dirty or misaligned sensor, or even a temporary electrical glitch. If the light flashes while you're driving on a slippery road, that's actually normal. It means the system is doing its job and helping you maintain control. But if the light stays on constantly, that means the ESC system has been deactivated due to a fault, and it's time to check it out. Now let's talk about the forward collision prevention system, also known as the pre-collision system, or forward collision warning, or sometimes collision mitigation system, depending on the manufacturer. This is one of the smartest safety features in modern vehicles. It uses radar, cameras, or sometimes a combination of both to constantly monitor the road ahead while you drive. Here's what it's looking for. If the system detects that you're getting too close to a vehicle or object in front of you too quickly, it will alert you, usually with a visual warning on the dashboard, along with a beeping sound. And if you don't react in time, the system may go one step further and automatically apply the brakes to either avoid a collision or at least reduce the impact. It's an incredible safety feature that has prevented thousands of accidents. But like all technology, it's not perfect. Sometimes the FCW warning light can come on due to dirty sensors, obstructed or fogged camera lens, misaligned radar unit, electrical or wiring issues, aftermarket bumpers, or accessories blocking the sensors. So if you see this warning light pop up, it doesn't always mean there's an actual danger ahead. Sometimes the system just can't see properly. A quick cleaning of the front cameras or radar area often solves the problem, but if the light stays on, it may need calibration or inspection by a technician. Next, let's talk about the lane departure warning system, another advanced safety feature found in modern vehicles. This system is designed to help keep you safely in your lane. It uses a front-facing camera, usually mounted near the rear-view mirror, to constantly monitor the lane markings on the road. Here's how it works. If the camera detects that your vehicle is drifting out of your lane without using the turn signal, For example, if you're distracted, drowsy, or the car starts pulling to one side, the system will alert you. That alert can come in several forms: a warning light on the dashboard, or a beeping sound, or a vibration in the steering wheel or driver's seat. Some vehicles even have lane keep assist, which goes a step further and gently steers the car back into the lane if you don't react quickly enough. Now, like other camera-based systems, this one isn't perfect. The lane departure warning light might turn on or malfunction if the camera is dirty or blocked, or the windshield is foggy, cracked, or has direct sunlight glare, or the lane markings are faded, covered in snow, or not clearly visible, or there's a calibration issue after replacing the windshield, or there's an electrical or sensor problem. So, if the warning light pops up unexpectedly, start by checking the windshield area around the camera. A quick cleaning often fixes the issue. Next, let's talk about adaptive cruise control, often shown on your dashboard as a small speedometer icon, a car with lines in front, or sometimes just the letters ACC. Adaptive cruise control is basically cruise control on steroids. Instead of just keeping your vehicle at a set speed like traditional cruise control, ACC uses radar, cameras, or a combination of both to constantly monitor the vehicle ahead of you. Here's what it does. If the car in front slows down, ACC automatically reduces your speed to maintain a safe following distance. And when traffic speeds up again, ACC will accelerate your car back to your preset speed, all without you touching the pedals. It makes highway driving so much more relaxed and helps prevent tailgating or sudden braking. If you see the ACC symbol lit up in green, that means the system is active and working. Your set speed and following distance are engaged, and the car is controlling your speed automatically. If the ACC light turns yellow or amber, that means there's a problem with the system. The ACC has either detected a sensor malfunction, or lost visibility due to dirt, fog, glare, or found an error in the radar or camera alignment. When this happens, the system usually turns off automatically for safety, and you'll need to clean the sensors or have it inspected if the warning doesn't go away. Next, let's talk about a simple but very common dashboard message found in manual transmission cars, the press clutch pedal warning. This light usually appears when you try to start the engine without fully pressing the clutch pedal. Modern manual cars have a built-in safety feature called a clutch safety switch, which makes sure the clutch is fully pressed before the engine cranks. This prevents the car from jumping forward or backward if you accidentally left it in gear. So when you see the press clutch pedal message or a clutch pedal icon on your dashboard, it simply means press the clutch all the way down so the engine can start safely. Once you press the clutch fully, the engine should start normally. Next, let's talk about the press brake pedal warning, a message you'll see in vehicles with automatic transmissions and push-button start systems. This warning usually shows up when you try to start the engine or shift out of park without pressing the brake pedal. Modern cars have a built-in safety feature called the brake pedal switch or brake light switch. This switch detects when the brake pedal is pressed and sends a signal to the engine control system or the gear selector mechanism. Next, let's talk about the brake pad warning light, a symbol you'll often see as a circle with dashed lines around it, or sometimes as a message that says, "Brake pads warn." This warning is your car's way of telling you one simple thing. Your brake pads are getting thin. It's time to replace them soon. Most modern vehicles have a wear sensor built into the brake pads. When the pads get worn down to a certain level, the sensor touches the brake rotor and sends a signal to the dashboard, triggering the warning light. Brake pads naturally wear out over time because they create friction against the rotors to slow your vehicle down. But when they get too thin, several things can happen. Your stopping distance increases, or you may hear squeaking or grinding, or you risk damaging the brake rotors. And in extreme cases, you could lose braking power. So when this warning light pops up, don't ignore it. Your brakes are the most important safety system on your car. Next, let's talk about the gas cap warning light, a symbol you might see as a fuel pump icon, or a message that says, check fuel cap, or loose fuel cap. This light might seem minor, but it's actually tied directly to your car's emissions system, specifically the EVAP system, which controls fuel vapors and prevents them from escaping into the atmosphere. If the cap isn't tightened correctly after refueling, fuel vapors leak out of the tank, and the EVAP system can't hold pressure. Next, let's talk about the door ajar warning light, the little icon that looks like a car with one or more doors open. This light turns on whenever any door, the trunk, or even the hood isn't fully closed. Most cars also give you a beeping sound or leave the interior dome light on until everything is properly shut. The purpose is simple. It's your car's way of making sure you don't drive off with a door that's not completely closed. Even a door that's just slightly unlatched can swing open while driving, create loud wind noise, or even let rain into the cabin. So this warning is all about keeping you safe. If this light comes on, the first thing you should do is check all the doors. Open and close them firmly, including the rear doors. Sometimes a door latches only halfway, and that's enough to trigger the warning. If the light is still on, take a moment to check the trunk as well. A trunk or even a hood that isn't fully closed can also activate the door ajar warning light. Next, let's talk about the low beam indicator light, the little green headlamp icon that usually points downward. When you see this light on your dashboard, it simply means your low beam headlights are turned on and working. Low beams are the standard headlights you use for everyday driving, especially at night or in low visibility conditions like rain or fog. They're designed to illuminate the road ahead without blinding oncoming drivers. So if this indicator comes on, it's not a warning. It's just letting you know that your low beams are active. If the light doesn't come on when you switch your headlights on, then you might have a burnt-out bulb, a wiring issue, or a faulty headlight switch. But under normal conditions, this light is completely harmless. It's just an indicator letting you know your headlights are doing their job. Next, let's talk about the high beam indicator light, the blue headlamp icon on your dashboard with horizontal lines pointing forward. When this light comes on, it simply means your high beam headlights are active. High beams are your brightest headlights. They're designed to give you maximum visibility on dark roads, especially when there's no street lighting. They shine farther and wider than your low beams. But because they're so bright, they can easily blind oncoming drivers. So if this blue indicator is on, it's just letting you know that your high beams are currently engaged. If you're driving toward other vehicles, make sure to turn them off and switch back to low beams to avoid dazzling other drivers. If the high beam symbol doesn't come on when you activate your high beams, it could mean there's a problem with the bulb, the wiring, or the headlight switch. But under normal conditions, this light is simply an indicator, not a warning. It's there to help you drive safely and be aware of how bright your headlights are. Next, let's talk about the auto high beam indicator, usually shown as a green headlight icon with the letter A inside it, or sometimes with small lines pointing outward. When this light comes on, it means your car's automatic high beam system is activated. This feature uses a front-facing camera to monitor the road ahead, looking for streetlights, other vehicles, and overall brightness. Here's how it works. When the road is dark and there are no cars in front of you or coming toward you, the system automatically switches on the high beams for maximum visibility, and as soon as it detects an oncoming vehicle, tail lights ahead, or enough ambient light, it switches back to low beams, all on its own. It's a really convenient feature because it means you don't have to constantly flip your high beams on and off while driving at night. Now, if the auto high beam symbol starts blinking or doesn't appear at all when the system is on, it could mean the front camera is blocked, dirty, or the system is temporarily unavailable. For example, in heavy rain, fog, or snow. But under normal conditions, when you see that green auto high beam icon, it just means your car is handling the high beams for you, keeping the road bright without blinding other drivers. Next, let's talk about the turn signal indicator. the green arrow on your dashboard that blinks either left or right, depending on which direction you're signaling. Sometimes both arrows flash together when you turn on the hazard lights. When this indicator is blinking normally, it simply means your turn signals are working the way they should. It's not a warning. It's just letting you know that your signal lights are active so you can communicate clearly with other drivers on the road. But if the turn signal indicator starts blinking faster than usual, that's your car telling you something's wrong. A rapid blink usually means one of the turn signal bulbs, either front or rear, has burned out, or there's a loose connection in the wiring. On the other hand, if the indicator stays solid and doesn't blink at all, that could point to a faulty turn signal relay, a blown fuse, or an issue with the switch itself. Most of the time, though, a normal blinking turn signal indicator simply means your turn signals or hazard lights are functioning properly. Nothing to worry about. It's just one of the most important communication tools your car uses on the road. Next, let's talk about the fog light indicator, which you'll usually see as a green or yellow headlamp symbol with 3 horizontal lines and a wavy slash. When this light turns on, it simply means your fog lights are active. Fog lights are designed to help you see the road more clearly during fog, heavy rain, snow, or mist. They sit lower on the vehicle and shine a wide, flat beam that cuts underneath the fog instead of reflecting back at you like regular headlights do. That's why they're so helpful when visibility is poor. This indicator is not a warning light. It's just letting you know your fog lights are turned on. Once the weather clears up and visibility improves, it's a good idea to switch them off. Fog lights are very bright and can cause glare for other drivers if used unnecessarily. And if the indicator doesn't come on when you flip the fog light switch, or if the fog lights don't turn on at all, you may be dealing with a burnt-out bulb, a blown fuse, or a faulty switch. But under normal circumstances, the fog light indicator is simply there to keep you aware of your lighting setup. Next, let's talk about the glow plug indicator light, a symbol you'll only see on diesel vehicles. It usually looks like a yellow coil or a spring-shaped icon on your dashboard. When this light comes on, it simply means your engine's glow plugs are warming up. Glow plugs are small heating elements inside a diesel engine that help warm the air in the cylinders so the engine can start smoothly, especially on cold mornings. So when you turn the key or press the start button, the glow plug light will appear for a few seconds. This is completely normal. Once the light turns off, that's your signal that the glow plugs have reached the right temperature and the engine is ready to start. But here's where it becomes a warning. If the glow plug light starts flashing or stays on while driving, that usually means there's a problem. It could be a faulty glow plug or a bad glow plug relay, or an issue with the fuel injection system, or a sensor problem inside the engine management system. In some cars, a flashing glow plug light can even indicate general engine or emissions-related issues, similar to a check engine light. So remember this: if the glow plug indicator behaves normally during startup, everything's fine. But if it stays on or starts flashing while driving, it's a sign that something needs attention. Next, let's talk about the diesel particulate filter warning light, commonly seen in diesel vehicles. The symbol usually looks like a little exhaust pipe with dots or a filter-like pattern. When this light comes on, it means your DPF is getting clogged with soot. The DPF's job is to trap harmful soot particles from the exhaust so they don't get released into the air. Over time, the filter fills up, and when it gets too full, this warning light pops up to let you know the system needs help burning that soot off. Diesel vehicles normally clean the DPF automatically through a process called regeneration. During regeneration, the exhaust temperature rises high enough to burn off the trapped soot. This happens naturally when you're driving at higher speeds, like on highways, but if you mostly drive short distances or stop-and-go traffic, the exhaust never gets hot enough, and the soot builds up, triggering that DPF warning light. So what should you do? The easiest fix is to take the car for a good 15 to 20-minute drive at steady speeds. preferably on a highway. This allows the exhaust to heat up and the system to complete regeneration. In many cases, the light will turn off once the soot is burned away. If the light stays on, that means the DPF is too clogged for normal regeneration. The car may go into limp mode, meaning reduced engine power to protect itself. This is when you'll need a forced regeneration at a workshop or a deeper inspection.